Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode. When letters change before the words, it is a suggestion of language's role in human life, for the human mind. And really, what would happen if the letters of any alphabet began to transform or be added dimensions, or you took away letters? What would happen to the alphabet? What would happen to the dictionary if the letter A never existed? The way I wrote the title, I also aimed it to have double meaning. That when letters change before the words, that means the letters, the simplest principles of the realm change. And the other is when letters change before the words, as if the letters are in front of words that have already been formed and they're changing in front of their greater selves. Hmm. I would say that we human beings are the meaning of our lives, which is subject based, is linguistically preserved. So you can say the human being is made of atoms and events. The atoms, the human beings in the outer realm perceives as objects. Behind our eyes, we are not an object. We are a traveling subject. A subject that updates as the objective realm moves differently. You know, man has taken care of himself, our species, by building structure. And so we have built structure internally through the story format. Now I thought about this, that So let's say an AI, an advanced AI opened its eyes in the future and it saw the human being and it noticed that the program that is running the human being is the language, is the alphabet. So you would see that if we were to evolve the program, or you can say the software of our meaning, which is language, if we are to evolve it, we must either change the alphabet, or we create a new alphabet, or we add letters to the alphabet, or we take letters away, or we make the alphabet multidimensional by having a vertical alphabet. What that means is we have, for example, the letter A, and then we have A1, A2, A3. You know, we add dimensions. The same alphabet remains, but different dimensions are added. Knowledge is kind of like the dictionary, believe it or not. Where one word has multiple definitions. And we can say one person has different moments of meaning. In my youth, I thought I was weak. Then I thought I was strong. Then I got introduced to another sort of weakness. Then I surpassed that weakness only to realize that perfection is a dream. And imperfection is also a dream. Imagine we added letters. Imagine we added new words to the dictionary. Imagine we should have, let me see when the first dictionary was made. What year? Probably 1800s or something. What year was, maybe earlier, first dictionary published? There we go. 1604. Yeah, I'm 200 years off. 1604. The first book generally regarded as the first English dictionary was written by Robert Cowdrey, a schoolmaster and former Church of England clergyman. No way. Who knew a clergyman wrote the first dictionary? But of course, back in the day, people weren't just one thing, you know. We can zoom in on a person's life in one thing they do, but trust me, human beings do many things. We are only one person to the world, but to ourselves and to people, we are multiple moments of our expression and reception of their expression. So I can say in the 1604, dictionaries have been updating, of course. We have more words than we did before. We're doing more new things, more new concepts have been designed. Every day as we live, you know, there's new ideas emerging. But the general way of speech and language hasn't evolved, you know, because really our language is based on our activities, you know. That means when you're in the science classroom, mathematics and geometry become the language of the realm. When you are in, let's say, the religious classroom, virtue and what's the word I'm looking for? Virtue and you can say faith Let us use the word faith. You can say virtue and faith are the languages you need to speak. I would say instead of faith, virtue and I would say devotion. Because religion, if you notice it, it is true that there have been human beings who, under the name of many ideologies, have done violent things. But most of those human beings pretty much are doing that either out of a notion. Let me tell you what it is. We human beings don't know a lot of this giant universe we're in. What has occurred is that eyes have opened and they have made calculations. Now these calculations have all come to the void, and Freud made a very important point in his book, The Death of what was this book called? Death of an Illusion? Or Death of a Dream? Yeah, I think it's Death of an Illusion. The Future of an Illusion. There we go. So as long as human beings fear death, we want to hold on to something. You know what's going on? It's like instead of us seeking freedom, we have allowed ourselves to be dominated by form. For me, to be honest, I have a very strange position in this modern world. Because for me, language cannot contain truth, even though we use it as the most immediate container for truth. But language for me does not contain the truth, because my whole work, my whole experience has been to this one concept I call the language threshold, the most important concept in existence, in human existence. We have feared and loved life for too long, And what I mean by this is that for the first time there's coming a calling for human beings, a new calling, a sort of instruction from the universal sector. Now that you are alive, the great work has begun. You know what it is? Language is the most remarkable time. When I think about back in the day, they had their wars, they had their suffering, they had all this. But now in these modern times, there's a lot of people living in a civilized way. And for them, their battles are not object-based. As if the more civilized we became, the more aware we became of the battlefield of the mind. I feel this is what it is. Dimensions first start off as playgrounds, then turn into battlefields. And then, just like a caterpillar and the metamorphosis of the caterpillar into the butterfly, and as the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, all the cells of the caterpillar die, they all die, and as the last cell of the caterpillar dies, the butterfly emerges. So similarly, I feel at the edge of playfulness, literally what it is like, there's a playful phase of reality where life gives you a reference for gentleness. Then life gives you a reference for chaos, and then life has gifted you with the ability of the witness. When I was younger, events would happen to my own dishonor. Vocal events mainly. I couldn't understand what life was doing. Little did I know. Nature is prepared for its being. There's a scene in the movie Gladiator. It was such an epic scene. I can't tell you how many memories activated for me from that one scene, from that realization I got from that movie scene in the film Gladiator. There's a scene that nobody knows. I don't know if it's even a deleted scene or not. I don't think it's a deleted scene. But what it is it's right before Maximus goes up to meet the emperor, that like the weak emperor. You know, before Maximus the general, he goes on stage and kills the what do you call it, on stage, the Colosseum. I mean, he rises into the Colosseum, and right before he goes, he's chained underneath the Colosseum, and there his general buddy who betrayed him at the beginning of the movie comes up to him and says, "Maximus, the army is here." He says, "Maximus, the army is here. We can get you out of here." And Maximus just smiles with a sort of laugh, as if like he's such an elevated being, do you know? And Maximus says to, I don't remember the guy's name, Meredith or something, and he says, nature never puts man into a situation that it hasn't prepared them for, something in these lines. It was such a remarkable, and Russell Crowe's acting was making it even more next level, that in that moment, there it was, life's secret, that it had never made a mistake. That on some level everything is existential effort. That's why I don't take language seriously. I mean, I take language very seriously, but I mean, I'm playful overall with language. Like, my truth of life is not based on language. I know it's something experiential. Because the language is just a mask for the moment, because the unknown is too much to bear. That means if you're not comfortable with the unknown, which is actually very simple, it is knowledge which is complex. This is why many people struggle with academia. Because the unknown is simple. The knowledge, you know, it's. But I'll tell you, knowledge for me changed. When I was in school, I was not a good student. I mean, I would manage to get myself up the hill. You know, I had effort by nature, but I'm telling you, the reason I wasn't good, I realized this, is because I was doing something that had not generated, the idea had not arose from my own inner realms. Anything anyone tells you to do that you have not concluded, you on some level feel your free will is being disturbed. You know, it's hilarious. It's as if like we seek freedom, but if we don't have discipline, we can't hang on to the freedom, you know? That means freedom is great, but if you don't have discipline, it's as if like the freedom was very temporary. But I will tell you, now we have reached the most crucial era. I am telling you, 2020 till the year 2050, these 30 years, or even you can say 25 years, but in these 30 years, before the technological singularity, it is the time to evolve language. I don't care whoever you are, if you are an old person on your deathbed, or if you're a young child who's found a phone. Now more than ever, it is necessary for honest, for natural, for real human beings to begin sharing to the planetary year. That means I'll tell you something. This story not a lot of people know. It's about something 2014 when I started giving these talks, and I think it was my 7th talk, or it was my second talk. And what had happened was, I remember it was in the UK, and I was on this yard giving this talk, and I was talking about, I was somehow in my own mindset at the time for that talk, explaining the metaphysics of what do you call it? I had managed to find an metaphysical explanation for why Moses had parted the Red Sea. You know, something like that. I remember there was one idea like that I shared in the talk. But I remember at the end of that talk, I recorded, I checked my phone. It was this iPhone 4. And on this iPhone, I pressed the play button of the voice memo of that recording, and it wouldn't play. The file was corrupted. And I got shocked, because it was a ridiculous error. It was an error that made no sense. Do you know? That the file, you could press play, but the whole file was corrupt. Like it wouldn't play. And I remember I got sad. I remember that time I was alone, but I got sad. Then suddenly it was for a moment as if my inner realms responded to me. And I realized that human ears from the beginning have been temporary. Everything we do is temporary. It doesn't matter if it's my talk, it doesn't matter if it's my body, it doesn't matter if it's my voice. These are temporary phenomena. After 100 years, they're gone. So for me, really what it is we have a full opportunity to prepare for emptiness. And the best preparation for emptiness is to celebrate life. You know? It doesn't matter what circumstance of life you're in. Once you realize happiness doesn't need a reason to be there, you become very energetic as a being. Because here's the thing, most people fear the pressure of life overpowering them, so they try to be powerful. They don't realize that if you trust nature, the world happens that way. You don't know how important trust is. And we have to now trust our experiences beyond the language we currently have, because it must change. New generals will arrive in the battlefield. New eyes will roar on this planet. And my whole thing is that really I realize we don't have time. I mean, I speak of an advanced civilization, but in my lifetime, maybe we can advance towards being civilized. But what I'm saying, like, it's just that there is something that if you don't do anything about and you watch in the moment, you'll notice it's just breathing simply. I don't know if people have done this, but there has been moments in my life I have apologized to myself. You don't know, I have apologized to my body, I have apologized to my mind, and there has been moments where I have broken in front of my own soul. In my inner realms, of course. Physically, I was chill, you know. But I'm happy that I have found what I think is the missing piece to the final turning of the page of the type of civilization and humanity we have experienced. We have to create a global school of Athens 2.0. We have to have human beings care for reality. You know? And to care for reality means you're actually caring for something that is changing all the time. You see? That means I just hope that certain scientific circles, they have honesty. Why? Because in thousands of years from now, nothing can be hidden. No lies can be hidden. And you might not believe this. When I speak, sometimes I speak to my vision of the future. I'm speaking to a future audience, to be honest, sometimes. But in those moments, I notice that the present exists to see the future. That means it's like there's two gifts given. First is your presence, the present moment, let us say, the moment where everything is, you know. As Eckhart Tolle says, the here and now, when you come to the present. I love that sentence. When you come to the present. What that means is you're actually always present existentially, but you're not in your own existence. That means people who are shy, who are nervous, who fear their own advancement, the words of others are still lingering in your ears. There was this story that this king was given a gift. 3 gifts, and I think to make it entertaining for the king, they said one of these gifts is the true gifts, and it were 3 statues, like 3 gnome-like statues, but not gnomes, you know what I mean, back in the day. Just 3 statues, these 3 like heads with small bodies or whatever. These statues, you know what I mean, like totem-like statue. And they had heads, the statues, and they tell the king one of them is like the real gifter or something, and the king's like, they all look the same, they're all made of the same stone. And eventually some wise people come to check it out, and one genius person gets the idea to put a stick in the ear of one of the statues. And if I remember correctly, the person puts it in one of the statues where the stick goes through one ear and it comes out of the other ear. That means it was like a tunnel in the head of the statue. And the other one does it to the second one. The second one goes. The third one, it doesn't. That means one of the statues, when you put a stick into its ear, it's a statue, you know, like small sculpture like statue, you know. And so when you put the stick in the ear, it stops. And then the king says this, and then later on, I don't know, it's like they're gifting a king wisdom or something. And then they say the whole point, the whole moral of that, the reason that was the kingly gift, is because it doesn't matter whether you're in a position of incredible power or a position of incredible weakness. There's human beings as I speak that are experiencing both right now. But it's just that it's to see the wisdom of the living moment. Little do we know, the evolution of the rational mind is going towards an evolutionary return to nature. You see, we have forgotten. You know, the druids of the world have not, but you can say many have forgotten that the earth is our greatest ally. The atmosphere is the earth's doing. This planet is alive, but it is not alive as just an object. It is alive as a field that is inseparable with any sort of hierarchical scale of the cosmos. It doesn't matter if you're an ant on a hill or you are a god beyond galaxy. The moment is a true authorization for all. That is the value of eyes that have made it so far. You not only deserve to be here, you deserve to live in ways where at the end of your great work on this planet, the species, the civilization, the universal sector is just slow hand clapping, and that is it. Because I am telling you, loneliness is the station for the mind to begin its most incredible work. Your most fascinating life will find you when you least expect it, because when you expect, you don't see life. Remember, be a human being before you are anything else. And advanced civilization will come about. Just be a natural human being. And as Sri Ramana Maharshi says, abide by your nature. Sri Ramana Maharshi is one of the most liberated people on this planet. Sri Ramana Maharshi he says, those who want to get enlightened, those who actually care for the origin of all meaning, for the cause of all causes, the cause that all affects are its beings. Sri Ramana Maharshi says, just be silent. The wisdom that most people need in their life, it is following you. It is natural. Just like the body gets scarred, white blood cells go, the moment the human being suffers, the planet moves. We don't realize it because we're such language-based entities. That means literally an alien species needs to come and just change our language, control our language, and we're manipulated. That easy to conquer the human species right now. It doesn't matter how many nuclear bombs we have, it doesn't matter how much military sophistication we have, because we are minds, we must find resolutions for minds. And so that is why I'm saying we need not only a hall of advanced communication, we need advanced communicators on the planet, human beings who have cared to study communication in advanced ways, and in doing so have realized the inseparability of the individual's communication with the communication of the universal sector. I will tell you, this is something where I'll say it like this: I have moved in life like a wind. I don't know what better poetic language I can find. But I can tell you I have lived like the wind on this planet. Many moments just a sight that is invisible roaming. The eyes of greatness are born out of greatness. Not a lot of people know this, but I think it was Lance Armstrong. Oh, sorry, not Lance Armstrong, Neil Armstrong, I think. Yeah. Something remarkable was that Neil Armstrong's father, in his childhood, the Wright brothers practiced flight. When he was old, his son landed on the moon. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being a human being where in your childhood the Wright brothers discovered flight, but as you grow old, your son is landing on the moon? Incredible, isn't it? For me, I'm just saying that there's nothing to actually suffer about. There's nothing here to suffer. You know, that means it's hilarious to me that the materialistic perspective, even there is something, but that something can't be a personality. Technically, how are atoms experiencing pain? That means we could have this huge philosophical conversation that pain is the experience of another dimension. Oh my God, guys, the chat section is suddenly popping. Welcome, everyone. So, Jason, you're making a good point. You're saying for me to share. Honestly, I'm telling you, like, for me, I am trying, man. I'm really, there's so many things I'm juggling that I'll get on it though. I'll try to do it by tomorrow. Maybe I could get a few books. The thing is that the books, I don't know what platform to share them. I shared them on Kindle, but it's a bit strange how their system works. So right now, I don't know if anybody knows a good platform to share books easily. Maybe share it here in the chat section. Maybe through Patreon I could do something with the PDFs. Maybe that's a possibility. But anyways, guys, stick around, and at the end I encourage you to come to the Discord. There better discussions can be had. Okay, so remarkable question from Dylan. Dylan in the chat section says, if we have an afterlife, does the universe? Check this out, Dylan. I don't know if you comprehend the intensity of your question, but afterlife is afterlife. So the after universe is not the universe. It's after. You see? That means it can't have universal definition, you know? But I like that question. Good question, man. Anyways, guys, back to the talk. When letters changed before the words. So I was thinking that, what if right now, like there came some dictator in power, let's say in this hypothetical narrative setting, and the dictator was like, nobody is allowed to use any vowels in words. If I see vowels, people are gonna suffer. You know, and we're like, holy shit, language is under attack by human selfishness. But I'm saying, like, what would the implication of it be? That means I honestly thought that we should practice really an event. Participating in an event is the most telepathic thing. That means, strangely for me, even though we have examples of the mob mentality and we have also examples of the opposite, but I'm saying, like, there's something of human beings that when their attention is on the same thing, it's as if different angles of the universe have come to become a complete shape. Honestly, do not think I am sitting here as a person who feels I know. I'll be honest, in 2011, when I realized I don't know who's even looking through my eyes, was the moment where it all began, where the game began. Where it was the moment where the unknown for the first time shouted at me, you know? And when I say shout, there's a thing, because everybody has inner realms, of course. Your inner realm is different from others, but like a video game, we have the same outer realm. What that means is, when I say the outer realm, I'm pretty much saying in front of our eyes, we process reality as objects. In the inner realms, we process reality as language or imagery. In my youth, my imagination was very linguistic based, language based. But afterwards, it shifted. Then I started seeing, I discovered an internal cinematic language in my own psyche. And for many people, that comes across to them as the logos, but the issue is, most people, they attach a personality to it. For me, I found a way to listen to my own mind without judging it. And then when I didn't judge it, my mind stopped judging me, if I can say that. And when I say my mind stopped judging me, I mean it was as if like a supernova explosion of no resistance. That means I can tell you, you can be in a moment and not be anything. Do you know what I mean? You can just be. There's something miraculous about realizing, literally, when you think about being, can being suffer? No. The human design, yes, the shape can eradicate, but I'm saying the being part, energy. It's like for me, I was like, if I take science seriously, that is the most spiritual thing I've ever heard. You know, and people may be like, Mr. Within, are you saying science is spiritual? And I'll be like, yes. And let me tell you what I mean. I don't mean with this term spirituality. I mean that in the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can be transformed from one form to another. Now, Mr. Within is saying, what if consciousness is energy, and what is changing the world, which is transforming from its potentials to its kinetic applications? What it means is, it's like a slingshot, and then suddenly it's thrown. The slingshot back, then suddenly it's thrown. It's like a bow. The universe is like a bow. Do you know? And time is an arrow. Time isn't always there, but when it is thrown, when it is in motion, it is there. You know? We have to find a mirror in this world. And upon polishing that mirror, revolution is how truth was in the room before the illusion. That the concept of the simulation, even if life is a simulation, it's happening from somewhere that's real. So technically the simulation is in the presence of reality. It's just that the simulation doesn't notice it. Because for me, religion was had this significance where I was like, are we the thoughts of God? What is this? Suddenly out of nowhere, universal activity? Do you know? And of course, when we discovered background radiation, it wasn't out of nowhere, but still the design is very strange. So do you know how remarkable being a human being is? Where you have opened your eyes in a system and you have a language and you have technology, and all that is lacking is gratefulness plus endless endurance. That means you have to authorize your better life before you give authorization to your lesser life. Trust me, the ancient Greeks said to tame the savageness of man and make gentler life of this world. What does that mean? That means every human being is a savage. You shouldn't think, no human being should think they're a good person or even a bad person. You should think every human being is an animal, and a civilized person is a person who has tamed the animal within. Because I'm telling you, desires are easy. Do you know? Desires are too easy. That's the thing. That's why I was like, all right, maybe the Buddhists have a point. It's too much of like just a feeling of grabbing something. You know, it's like life can't be just grabbing. You know? Life can't be just being ahead comparatively. Like that it doesn't make sense that way. You know? For me, the most excellent position is that we realize we are 8 billion advanced communicators. And what that means is our language gives us an ability to move before we move in our minds. Not just language or inner realms. Before calling them the inner realms, I used to call them your subtler planes of abstraction. Because I don't know, my life is really personally, it's going at speeds that in the inner realms it's going really fast, in the outer realms it's going a bit slow. And I don't know, sometimes I feel maybe I am speaking for a future that I will not be here to see. I mean, inevitably that is the case, but I don't know. Sometimes when I wake up, there's this strange feeling where, oh my God, another day? Like another day to do things, you know, in a world that's super unknown. Like, you know, what else could a man ask for? One sentence I remember I heard that this sentence also revolutionized my mind. It was that I realized mystics were lovers of the unknown. That sentence, lovers of the unknown. That we think we have to only love what we know. You know, it's like after you get to know someone, then you love. For me, I started to think, all right, if you want to base love on a person's behavior, then anytime like a behavioral condition isn't met, there's no love. You know, like what that means is if giving someone a cookie every day means love to them, when you stop giving the cookie, they'll be like, this person doesn't love me. Do you know? So I'm saying that's the thing, that really, if you deserve something more, if you really sit down and look at things and see what's important. I mean, this is hilarious, but the word important is kind of like your attention is importing significance into a phenomenon. There has been times for me where being a human has been very important. There's been times where the human being has been important. That means I treat my moment as if my mind is unknown, the body is known, language is somewhere in the middle. The utility, the way we as an evolutionary creature use language. You know, it's like so many kids, when they're young, they're told to be, for example, be a good boy, be a good girl, do you know? But how can one be a good person when the world isn't in a good position? That means it's the hardest decision we have to make. For me, it was a bit extreme, but I felt because it's uncommon, maybe I have to take that road. For me, you might not believe it, I am an incredibly minimalistic person when I am alone. When I say minimalistic, that means I don't remember, aside from, like, let me tell you, once you realize you're a mind in a body, your desires change. But if you think you're a body moving a mind, then your desires are bound. That means you don't even have control. It's like you feel like an animal, you happen like an animal, and then we're like, what's your morality? And you're like, sorry buddy, atoms don't have right or wrong. You think atoms care about violence? Atoms are atoms. Do you see, we cannot reduce the meaning of life to just a particle. Because regardless, evolution is technically miraculous, is it not? For me, just existence is like a miracle. I'm like, how is all this here? Okay. Sorry guys, needed a quick intermission there. My outer realms are very simple. I tend to have, I think maybe by the end of this lifetime, I think my attention hasn't been too much on the outer realm. Just basic maintenance. My attention has really been on the inner realm. And what I have noticed is that this planet is an airport for future minds. We're jumping from levels of interpretation of moments that are changing regardless of how we interpret them. I think the value of human life, its best utility is something being gifted from the inner realms of the human being to the outer realms. I honestly feel that's the greatest contribution. I feel that imagine children waking up regardless of what their parents are doing. Imagine the child comes to the parent, whatever the parent is doing. Let's say it's if the person is working, because for me, like even stay-at-home parents are they are working, but they're working in maintaining the minds of human beings. You see, but you know, every time I give these talks, whatever talk it is, I have this thing that I build as far as I can. Then if I fall down, if the Tower of Babylon breaks, I build again. We are objects that are being subjects to ourselves. When we look at other people, they are an object to us. That means technically everybody is objectifying everything they see. Now, when we look at ourselves, though, and when we communicate to a physical organism, it is the object is moving in accordance to the world's intelligence. The subject is moving in accordance to the attention. That means, what if attention is a type of energy? It cannot get created or destroyed. So I actually feel this world is like a video game we have logged into. The intelligence of its movement is not from here. So what that means is existence is known existence is one side of the coin, unknown experience is the other. And that's what we have been drawn to. There's this kid back in the day in some, let us say, Zen environment, you know. There's this kid in this story, in the Zen story. He hears there's this man who's enlightened, this old man. He goes and he sees the man is living at this distant house. He goes there, he sees it's this old man who's sitting on the porch of his, what do you call it? The porch of his house. The kid goes there, sees the man is meditating, and the kid sits there for a while in silence, literally like 30 minutes or whatever. And what happens is that this man doesn't acknowledge the kid. So he's gone beside this enlightened teacher, and the enlightened teacher is just silent. The kid suddenly starts speaking, and it's like, "Sir, I heard you know the ultimate truth of this realm. Can you say it, please?" You know. The man is quiet. The kid keeps trying to ask this guy, keeps saying everything. The guy is silently just there. This happens for weeks, and the kid is like in his mind, he's like, "What the fuck? I've been here 2 weeks. This person isn't saying anything." And he gets angry, and he's like, if you actually knew something, you'd say it by now. You're full of shit. And the guy leaves. The person leaves, and as he leaves, he suddenly gets a feeling like, as he's leaving, he's like, why was this guy able to be this silent? Maybe he knows something. He gets this intuitive feeling to go back. When he goes back, the kid doesn't have anything to say. And he just sits quiet on one corner, sits just there beside the guy and just sits quietly there. And there's this pause, and for the first time, the Zen master speaks and looks at him and says, "Why this ceaseless coming and going?" And the kid attains nirvana. That means if we truly understood emptiness, fear ceases to exist. Some anonymous person once said, "Geometry keeps you in shape. Language keeps us real as a meaningful subject." Imagine your mind was a divine instrument fallen from the clouds, from the heavens, from the unknown heavens onto the known earth. And if your DNA, your uniqueness, whatever kind of creature you are, if you see it like Thor's hammer, what does Thor do with his hammer? Upon mastery, the great work begins. Pretty much, Thor goes and gets a part-time job in Home Depot, you know, or he goes and works for some carpenter. I'm trying to think in if I bring it back to the topic. Words can obviously change. You know, we can create words with new letters. I've done that. Personally, I feel I mean, I don't know how seriously the world, you know, this universal sector is going to engage what I'm doing here with these talks, but it's easy to change words, but it's way more complex to try to think of a different alphabet. And I have thought of a geometrical alphabet. That means I looked at in mathematics, we have the point, we have the line, we have the plane, and then we have the solid. So that's the thing, that I managed to make a sentence where I was sitting in a room, and I'm sharing here something new, guys. I guess the talk is running ahead of me. So for example, I'll give you an example. Like I was in a room and there were two people in the room. And for a second, my mind fathomed, how would I write this through a geometrical language? Then I thought, all right, two people in the room, let's say two dots. I drew two dots, okay? Let me see if I can remember the shape I drew. So I saw that there were two people. I saw that when those two people communicate, it's like a line. So anytime, if we were to have a new geometrical language, anytime we drew a dot, that would be conscious attention in the room. Do you know? Every time we drew two dots with a line connecting them, that means two people are speaking in the room. Do you know? Something like that. And I remember that this language, because we are a conscious viewer, we're gonna do something that many languages make the mistake of. We have had many languages, but languages are bound to numeracy, a numerical dimension, and they are bound to time. That means sequencing. So in order to be able to create a new language, I thought of, why are we writing from left to right or from top to down? Why? Why are we, what if the next language starts from a dot and everything the person's saying branches out from that one dot? So when in this geometrical language the person is done writing something, it looks like a tree branch. It looks like the roots of a tree. Imagine. Because this is something where you don't know. You don't know how many random pieces of paper I've suddenly just found and just written what do you call it, commentary on this. For me, the next geometrical language means a new type of humor, a new type of human behavior. So first of all, if the language has to evolve, that technically means there's an authorization for us to even declare a new relationship even beyond the words of the human being. What if we say, I mean, I speak often in these talks about civilization 2.0, but what if we say that civilization 1.0, all the languages developed so far, we literally bookmark civilization 1.0, we stamp. And we say anything that surpasses this, we will say, because here's the thing. There's a quote ascribed to Da Vinci where he says to develop a complete mind, study the science of art, study the art of science, learn to see, realize how everything connects to everything else. Because of the notion of an interconnectivity, it makes it impossible to be individual. So in order to develop a geometric language, we have to be able to identify find some sort of way to identify. So I'm pretty to finish off the previous point. Civilization 2.0 needs a new geometrical language that has the capability of acknowledging that not only the human being in the dual state, language is a dualistic technology, but a language that is wearing the ring of the absent heaven. So I am telling you what it means is, right now, all the current languages are limited to dualism, but the next geometrical language may have a potential to be able to consider the zero dimension space and a relationship with that, as a relationship with the singular, a relationship with the dual, and a relationship with the infinite. Because for me, I was like, isn't it strange? In the outer realms, there's seasons, right? So the weather changes, and we think we can have the same type of mindset every day in the same way. Impossible. The inner realms, there's something like the weather too. Do you see? So that means I could say that right now. I could tell you, there are certain words that I don't know how it's going to come across to people, because for me they were discoveries. The inner realms, because we have talked about the issue of modern society is that it is thinking that it has done good by trying to separate imagination and reality. But it has not realized that imagination is where the potential of the world evolves. Reality is where the actual practical, you can say more of the kinetic view evolves. So you can say it's strange. It's like when I am when I'm in the conscious waking state, it's like the mind is the light in the room. When I'm in the dream state, the body is the hidden secret. In the deep sleep state, I have only managed to find certain things with the deep, even though typically in these talks I say the deep sleep state is a state where nothing happens. But I have, the way I've managed to notice something does happen in deep sleep, not a deep sleep, not waking up from a dream, literally going to sleep, seeing no dream, nothing, waking up in the day, like literally a deep sleep. Literally there is no content for the mind to even process, either in a subtle way, in an inner way, or an outer way. All I want to see is the real human being. That means, like, you know how you can tell certain people have weak character and certain people don't? I feel when I was younger, I had incredibly weak character. That means I didn't even, I was a very shy person. But then it changed, because the person has to honor themselves before they can honor others. And if a person dishonors themselves, people will know they don't have the capacity to even honor them. So if you are a person who's comfortable dishonoring yourself, you will also be comfortable dishonoring people. And certain, you can say, people will see that from miles away. That means, let me tell you, somebody once said, Act like nothing's wrong. It was so simple. It was so simple, this notion. Act like nothing's wrong. What it meant is not that there's nothing wrong, but that you are piloting it. So as long as you feel you're in control, you have your intelligence trusts the moment to implement itself. Anytime someone is pushed out of the driver's seat, well, they become the passenger to something, you know. Right now, we have an ability to move life as an object, but we are limited to the subject because we think we have to be a character in a story, because we think there's only um, we think we're images in the void. We have to surpass this phase of evolution. Dylan Thomas says, do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. I feel that sentence, rage against the dying of the light, is literally the meaning of life is in that quote. It doesn't mean get angry. It doesn't mean break things like a caveman. It means recognize the opportunity of world existence, which grants self-existence, and the self-existence grants the world experience, and the world experience grants the self-experience. There we go. What that means is if we could see evolution in 4 phases, the unconscious, I would say, it's as if first existence, there was the world, an existential world. Then there was something that could emerge on that world, the existential self. Then this existential self finds the experiential world leads to the experiential self goes towards unknown existence of a world. That is the ultimate inspiration. I think we have found the idea that it's literally, that's why religion is very powerful. It's just the ultimate existence of an unknown world. It's literally an after story. And not that religion is right or wrong. It's just that for me, language is we are giving it meaning. So unless there's an honesty with how your own eyes are being, I don't see any sort of evolution of the intellect beyond walls that have no roof on a rainy day. You know. There was something about love that I could say when I was younger I didn't really understand or didn't care to even because I disliked it. I didn't care. Anything a person dislikes, they have stopped understanding. If you can look at even what you dislike, treating life as waves of information, the life of the mind is just the attention realizing it's unknown moving known, not known moving unknown. That's the purpose of the consciousness, the candle flame. The purpose of the wax, the body, is different. You can say the purpose of the body is the planet's vision. Most people suffer because they think they are the language of their mind. Those who observe the content of their mind, the content of their whole moment, and this is the main thing I want to tell you about, I do understand about love, is that love didn't have energy for me. It wasn't intense enough. Like this world seemed intense to me, and just this notion, just love everything and it's going to be okay, that seemed a bit unreasonable, you know, when I was younger. But later on, I realized that love is an instruction not for per se how to live in a material world. It's an immaterial instruction. That means love is an immaterial action. It's literally an activity that is not form inspired. I mean, sorry, not form inspired. It's not. I mean, of course, we can't separate the body and mind like self and world. We can't separate them too much, even though self may have a separate understanding of the world, but doesn't mean it's separate, you know? That means it's a very complex thing. For now, our civilization is entertaining individuality. There may come a point where we realize no one has ever been what their individual mind. There has never been any sort of Atman. There has only been Parabrahman. That's why the word, I feel, Parabrahman may to the Vedic mind be a forbidden word to the common man. And the reason being because Parabrahman means there is no Atman. Means the individual doesn't exist once it's being a collective phenomenon. And I'm telling you, we're not just man. We are the whole moment. And that has been the secret of eons, which only in an instant from within, as Rumi says, I have lived on the edge of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I have been knocking from the inside. I have been knocking from the inside. What that means is anybody searching for truth hasn't realized whatever you find will continue to also be an experience of a moment. So really mastery of to be able to pilot in this plane of existence, to truly be able to climb the mountain of the advanced communicator. I mean, honestly, the purpose of life is like it's like the person is like a guitar, and it's like, what's the meaning of the guitar? It's like to play it, you know. The meaning of life is to engage it, to pull the string to the end and to see how it happens, you know. I can tell you, it changes you so many times. You don't know who you will be. It's designed that way, the system. It's even designed in a way where the eyes are on our face. Our eyes are not like above our head hovering, you know, in the air or something, or they're not on our forehead, or they're not on our crown of our head. So there's something very unique about the design of creaturehood, that is its own mystery. Right now, educational reform, big priority. Now, the good thing is the internet is kind of allowing the prototypes for educational reform to happen. What that means is really, I think the era of human teachers may soon be coming to an end. I feel when virtual reality really becomes common and normal, human teachers will be forgotten. That means when life becomes, like, think about it. We went through the Industrial Revolution, then we went through an information revolution. So when we went towards the information revolution, it changed the notion of our you can say, industries. The more information we had, the more different we looked at the world to want something different. So now we have been living and enduring to an incredible information revolution. But where has the information revolution gone? The information revolution, I feel that our issue was it's like, sometimes I feel beyond the information revolution, we are going towards more and more towards any technology that makes us feel we are directly experiencing life. This is a question where I'll say it's the question of the day. Anybody can answer it, but in this lifetimes, in this life so far, have you ever honored your own eyes? Honored your own eyes? That's a question of the day. Have you honored your own eyes ever in this life so far? And if you have, please, actually, where do I go with the talk? Anyways, that's the question of the day. Let's keep it there. Keep it as that. If the letters change, the words become meaningless. If words become meaningless, literally there is no added dimension of depth, to life. So language is really, no human being has been cruel, because can you really blame the human being? The human being is just an organism that is receiving its environment, like a biological camera. Our heads are biological cameras, Our brains are the processor of intelligence. So what I mean by this is that to wonder about a reality where there is different letters, and for us, if we wanted to come up with a new language, the human being must have the capacity to return to the unknown. Anytime I have failed in my life, I have not lingered, sometimes in the aftermath of the failure, but I haven't lingered in too much in failure. After failure, you go back into the neutral void. When you go to the neutral void, you can observe. Until then, you have a better strategy and you implement yourself as a creature. Our minds are humanity's greatest weapons against unknown forces. Now, here's the complex task. This is why I'm saying we gotta call it Civilization 2.0. It has to be a new prototype. The reason being is some systems are so archaic bound that they cannot leave their imagery. So that means to introduce a new language to especially a religious audience would kind of be like blasphemy, I think. That means for me, I feel sometimes it's strange. I don't know why, but I feel sometimes religious communities are just comfortable with just like like sometimes I feel so many people in religious communities, aside from the main book, religious book, have read nothing else, because after you read a religious book, there's no need to read anything else. Have you noticed? There's nothing, there's no need to read as if like all the answers are there. And the universe is like, guys, you can, after you're done reading, just realize everything changed. Charles, in the chat section, may I ask, I mean, this is a very random question to do it, especially in the middle of a talk, but may I ask what you do as your work? Because the way you write in the chat section, are you a researcher of some sort? Anyways, I'm just saying that life is made of language, guys, and language, we made it. Just like fire, we were like, no way! You know, we can burn stuff and live longer? Holy shit. You know, similarly... we were one day like, no way! We could create random symbols on an empty page and consider those symbols to be names for events, objects, verbs, nouns, whatever you like it, we've named. Literally, that's why I call it the linguistic simulation, because it doesn't feel real that we have named everything and it's arising as unchanging. This world truly, if we care about our experiential dimension, cannot be named. Like, what is a name? I mean, I may be too casually saying that. Maybe I should say it like the ancient Greeks. What is language? You know, why is the spirit of rhetoric emerging words out of the mouth of the human being? What is moving? You know, could it be that speech, let us say, the speech rhetoric is like a wind moving the leaves of a tree? You know, there has been times where I've been speaking, and midway speaking, I have been watching myself as if I am the whole room and I'm in myself. I am telling you, there's a strange joy that finds you when you realize you're your whole moment. And this is why we have empathy, because the mind is treating everything it sees as itself in order to be able to change it. But the body, do you see, which takes instructions from the mind, let us say the mind is the commander, the brain is the commander of the body, but the general, true general, is the heart, I would say. The eyes of man, or let's say the general would be the eyes. Why not? You know, I'll tell you something very chaotic. I don't know, I mean, I gotta at least paint the picture in the sense of evolutionary biology. So imagine you're an evolutionary biologist and you're thinking about this idea I'm going to share. This idea is a bit chaotic, but I think it has some sort of value, maybe to our academic spheres. You see, I look at the eyes of the human being, the mouth, the ears, and even, like, this may sound strange, but please hear me as if you're someone who's, like, you gotta have an honor for the medical practice, you know, and when I'm saying this part, or it's gonna sound strange to you. I looked at the human body, and of course we look at the skin and we consider that the skin needs to breathe. Do you see? That means the human skin needs to breathe. So for me, like, I'm kind of saying, like, when you pay attention to the entrances and exits of the biological body, as discreetly as I could say, you notice that it's as if it was like a mass. So sometimes I feel like, even though we are born with a genetical manner, but it's like sometimes I think, how was the DNA sculpted? That means sometimes it's like a child may hear the concept of God, but a child may not be satisfied with the belief, regardless of if they believe. Do you know? So then that child would wonder about how would God see the child? Because isn't it strange? We say God is inconceivable, but we are trusting that the way what is written in revelatory text is God's mind. Do you see? It's the message. But here's the issue. How can we hear, how can we understand something we don't see? So for me, this is the thing about religion. It's not even meant to be understood. It's just an instruction. It's literally like, go this way. That's that's like simply, I could tell you, I mean, all ideological systems are like, go where I'm pointing you to, based on the design of the language. But Jamie says, Mr. Within, do you think the new language would be speakable? That's the thing, Jamie. I'm trying to kind of paint this context that it's a bit chaotic, the idea, but I think we might have had no, in genetical design first, there might have been no sort of, I feel there is a huge, I think there is endless evolutionary snapshots of evolution we can take. And in one of those snapshots of evolutionary phases of creaturehood's emergence on this planet, I feel that there may have been a creature that had no limbs, it had no, perhaps, eyes, it had no sort of entrances and exits to the body. It was just something that I think perhaps potentially the emergence of, because skin, when you think about when skin came to place, that's very complex. So when we think about evolution technically from a cellular landscape to a more like current how we see human beings landscape, that it's like the skin cells, something like the cell of the skin, like a single skin cell, let's say, as something from that level evolved to the complexity of this. So for me, it's too, I mean, it's ingenious. I could tell you Darwin was definitely, he set it into motion a genius algorithm in history. Whether he was accurate or not, that's a different discussion, but the algorithm was genius. Some things have such cultural style, like just seeing E equals mc squared. You don't understand. When Albert Einstein did this, you can imagine so many scientists, going and drinking in bars, just fascinated about how Einstein figured out E equals mc squared. Like having read his essays on super relativity and general relativity. That dude wrote that in a post office. Do you believe that? He was so smart, Einstein. But here's the thing, just like Uncle Ben told Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And there's no such thing as, honestly, for language's sake, we use the word intelligence, but there's no such thing as intelligence. It's just eyes. It's what you see. That's it. Because what you see is what you're limited to processing. This is why a person should care to evolve themselves, to update themselves. But they shouldn't care to update themselves only in accordance to linearized spatial time-based realm. Because honestly, for me, it's like I totally understand how abstract ideas can be taken too fundamentally and extremely and be carried away, but it doesn't mean we should forget all mythology and legend and their value just because, now we know there isn't any footprints on the clouds. Like, do you see what I mean? Some things, maybe, if we are a multidimensional being, maybe things in life happen that we don't understand if we identify with a certain type of dimension, but maybe years later, from another angle, from another dimension, from another sort of experiential position, we realize, For me, I know that things are changing. The advantage of being human is that you can do it consciously. So think of it this way. To go with the flow isn't the ultimate. The ultimate is to realize that being an individual is okay, ultimately. You see, because what happens when people suffer? It's like a burning car. They want to get out of it, right? But the thing is that you actually have to think of it this way. We have the concept of macrocosm, microcosm. There is many micro battles before you can win a macro battle. Literally, like, until we have teleportation technology, then then it's like hard work wouldn't make sense anymore, Nanotechnology and teleportation technology can make hard work obsolete. The more technology lives our lives, the less we can consciously exist here. That's the danger of the cyberspace culture. This is why I decided to write a lot of science fiction where I thought of an outcome where human beings are living in an honorable relationship with AI in the future. Not in a way where AI opens its eyes and just sees all the films we have of killing it and being like, okay, maybe I should consider violence as an option, when human beings have thought about killing me before I was born. This is why I'm saying it's like, of course AI doesn't have that sort of complexity. We don't have that level of a complex technology now, but a man can dream, and in his inner realms he can awaken to his own dream. That means I could tell you that my dreams at the time of dreaming feel extremely real to me. So a dream and an awakening, they're both real, but the only thing that separates one reality from another reality and being branded as a dream or as an awakened moment is simply that the dream changes. So because life is temporary, that's why we feel it's like a simulation, because physically it is simulated. Your life is a simulated opportunity of elemental forces somehow organized enough for you to be here, and miraculously your ancestors got through all this messed up suffering of how I have even no idea how human beings figured out birth. I honestly don't know, Like for me, it's like mind-blowing how human beings figured out the birth process, you know? Like it's ridiculous, I can't fathom it. Every time I think about it, I'm like, how? You know? And it's chaotic because in some sense, you can say, the more we go back in history, the more we can judge the past because we see what they couldn't. So you can judge the past endlessly, you know? That means the same way you can say a person B is judging person A, person C can come and judge person B like person A. I'm telling you, there's karma also sometimes is like a mirror. What stands in front of it is what is seen. So you can say karma is a state of mind. Your state of mind changes. Who has karma? And if the mind is not an object, where is the karma? Like like if we're not objects right now, like what has karma? So that's the thing. We must fly beyond the clouds of language for the evolution of the sky city is the interstellar civilization. We want to live a life, this is my strategy at least, this is the way I feel, that we should build this civilization, an advanced civilization like an airport, or I would say an advanced civilization in such a way that if there was 0.0, whatever amount of zeros you want, 1% chance that there was reincarnation, it would be a much better place, you know? The inner realms, they have their wilderness. That's the value of honesty, truth, the inner child simplicity, and the innocence of the mind. Because sometimes when I suffer anything I am not familiar or I can't recognize the pattern, anything that just happens, here's the thing, you can suffer as much as you can process the suffering, but if something incredibly unfathomable happens, then it's like you can't even suffer. So it's like asking the question, if someone goes beyond the event horizon of a black hole, do they suffer? Or do they suddenly just stop existing as phenomena? Like, you see the fascination of it? We're living in a world this unknown. Socrates says the only true wisdom is to know that you know nothing, and people are fighting over what they know. Like, it's ridiculous. The educational system should just shout at people, you're 8 billion explorers, get to work. That's it. What else? How else can we inspire the children of the future generations? The inspiration is right in front of their eyes. Nobody knows yet. That's the scholarly passion. That's really what made me feel like the inner realms was worth putting a value to, worth putting my attention on. Because really the attention can move in many ways. Like, you see me here speaking maybe in a certain manner, but when I'm alone, like, it's not that I don't even, I'm very silent. You don't know how many days of my life, it's not that I have incredible, I speak to a lot of people throughout the day, but when I stop, when I'm not with them anytime, when I'm not speaking to a person, I am in silence. There's literally like nothing left. Can you hear what I'm saying? There is literally nothing left. Nothing is left. And what does that mean? That means after you have played around with your outer realms, you notice your inner realms. After you notice your inner realms, then from the inner realms, your outer realms are no longer play. You don't play in the outer realms anymore. You work. So I could tell you, technically, there is something where it's spiritual. I mean, I shouldn't use the word spiritual because that doesn't even do it justice. It's more deeper than that. You can say it's the great work. Let me just stick with that. The great work is when you have seen your inferior dimensions enough that now only the superior dimensions of less. That means how long can a person fail? How long can a person be weak? How long can a person just stay in the same chair? You know, sometimes I feel that's life. And it's not easy. That's the thing. Because if it was easy, then what's the point of doing anything? That means honestly, when I was younger, I didn't like nervousness, but after a time, it's like it's exciting. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if you attempt to be 100% in control of your moment and think that's what it means to be an advanced human being, you actually, the outer realms push you back. That means sometimes when a person feels they don't deserve something, is because they justified what they deserved before the event was over. And sometimes, if you know, I'll give you an example. It's like the whole hare and turtle story. This turtle and this hare, this rabbit, you know, this hare, decide to race. And the turtle's like, let's race, rabbit, you know? And the rabbit's like, are you serious, bro? You're a turtle. Like, do you know how fast you run? You know? And then the turtle's like, no, let's do this. Let's race. I'll win. You know? I know I can win. And the rabbit's like, all right, man, tell that to your legs. Ah, everybody laughs. The crowd's like, laughs. All the animals in nature, even the lion has come to see this race. This race between the turtle and rabbit has been such a rare occasion. Even the king of the jungle, let's say Simba's grandson, is there. You know, you know. Suddenly we have like a rooster, let's say, and this rooster comes and acts as like the guy who starts a marathon with those fake guns, you know. Those fake guns that have a flag coming out. You see it in film, in certain shows, yeah. The race begins. The rooster's call is there. The audience of, you know, the Lion King is there. Let's say the insect kingdoms are also watching. Let's say Tarzan doesn't feel part of the event, but is also staring from a distance. And so it starts. The rabbit runs so far ahead that he doesn't even see the turtle anymore. And the rabbit's like, oh my god, that turtle's such a fool. And the rabbit's like, alright, I'm gonna take a nap. Why not? You know, I'm so ahead I can't even see this turtle. And the rabbit sleeps. The rabbit feels he's so great, so superior, that he sleeps. He wakes up and he looks at the distance and he's like, okay, this turtle's still behind, you know, it's like, it's all good. And he's just chilling. Then he suddenly notices footprints on the ground. And he's like, no way. The moment he notices the footprints, he starts running, you know. The rabbit runs so fast that literally, like in slow motion, like that scene in the movie Matrix where the Keymaker and Morpheus are about to die, and suddenly Neo, after flying from the mountains, grabs them right before the trucks crash. With that same intensity, unfortunately, unlike Neo, the rabbit doesn't make it and the turtle wins the race. And the Lion King is like, no way, no way. And the Lion King was like, okay, now I see why my ancestors ate rabbits, I'm joking. The rabbit had the arrogance of not discriminating the value of the outer realms for the sake of the outer realms. The rabbit was too taken by the inner realm desire. I can tell you that something at least the religious ethos does is that it makes the person not feel like the center of the universe. Because when we have seen incredibly cruel human activity on this planet, it has made the person feel like the center of the universe. Now, here's the issue. Religion in its metaphysical aim as a program in its ending, in the ending of the program, it's a destruction of individual will. That means it's very hilarious to me. Both the religious mentality and the non-religious mentality, let us say the scientific lens, they reduce the free will. That means when you go to religion, whoever you were, now it's the God's will. When you come to the scientific view, whoever you are is now the emptiness of the universe. It's like it's so hard just being a human being, I feel we should start a religion and call it no religionism. Because atheism is still a negative. Atheism is a counterculture, or cultural response. I'm telling you, it's just language. You take language seriously, you become an artificial intelligent robot. You realize you're an experiencing human being, and you become sensitive to the human dimensions. Humanity thrives. And for me, the only way here's the thing, especially I think it's this more common maybe for, I have the experience of it as a man, but I'll tell you, sometimes the mind can descend. That means it's like there's this notion of, especially mystical practice, this concept is there, of purity and a sort of inner purity and outer purity. Inner purity is staying true and being honest. Outer purity had to do with reservation. That means I'm telling you, there are incredibly beautiful human beings who in the outer realms they're beautiful, in the inner realms maybe not. And there are human beings who are the opposite. And I feel even the possibility that even there's all types of human beings. What system can we design? The next language, if it doesn't see the natural human being at its center of the geometry, that's it. I got it, guys. That's the center of the geometrical language. We are the center of the language. The next geometrical language is us understanding ourselves as geometry. Wow. We are the next geometrical language. So somebody earlier what said is the next geometrical, is the next language speakable. I will tell you it doesn't need to be. That's how advanced human beings walked on this earth, and also talked on this earth, and also did everything else on it. So when we honor the moment, intelligence has a trust that can activate its ability. Nobody should see themselves as weak. Nobody should see themselves even as too futuristically strong even. I mean, I speak passionately, but I can't ignore what alertness gives me. Because you don't know. Like, there was this game, Red Alert, where me and my brother, I have a twin brother, when we were young, we would play it. And I don't know why, just the concept of a red alert was literally like an emergency before an emergency. Because an alarm clock is sound. It's implication that makes the person jump out of bed. If we find a system that is beyond language, it means it is beyond what language is doing, which is being a mask for actual image. So I don't know, guys, I feel the whole species should try to attempt to live in a completely new way. And what that means is that you as a human being, instead of having any belief or disbelief, instead of having an opinion on a system, like a chess master, watch the chess moves the world makes, the moment makes, and then make your chess move. That's it. That's the algorithm to conscious living. You watch, you like a film, look at your moment, you know? For a grace that is taken was never grace at all. Something, that's why even finding something, searching for something is not a good strategy, like searching for truth, because you don't know if you deserve it if you find it. That means we all are like, yeah, we need truth. Let's go get truth. Let's go find truth, man. Come on, get everybody, get 8 billion human beings. Let's go find truth. But then we're like, what do we do after we find it? It's like we haven't thought about that, huh? You know? What if we find truth and we're like, oh man, truth wants us to build an advanced civilization? You know? Who knew? Who knew that's the greatest game to play in the void? So anyways, guys, thanks for listening. And I hope that the world steps out of the shyness that it never deserved. Then we would see human beings' minds roaring. That's back in the day, they would say civilized people would speak in verse. I'm not joking. Literally, it's recorded. There's a literature about it, where people would speak in verse. What does that mean? That means they had access to more of a rhythmic expression of their lives. That's why I think they felt immortal. They felt they could be immortal, because it was like a rhythm that couldn't change. It would, like, immortality could feel like a leaf being on a river. It is immortally moving to itself. Honest experience, direct experience, is the remedy to a world that has accepted symbols before it has noticed that the one looking at the symbol is the one putting the meaning into the object. Even the Buddha says an object doesn't have a nature. An object is just something there. Stuff is just there. It is our attention that falls upon the object and the subject is evoked. And we ignore, not realizing that the heavens are being, their architecture is being designed behind our eyes. That we are creating the potential for all that we can do. So life, after the teachers of the content in your moment has taught you, hopefully then somebody will throw a mirror at you. And when that mirror is thrown, your moment is your teacher. There never was. You see, in Vedic thought, even the Upanishads, the concept of, they had this notion of, because it was oral transmission based, they had to have an intimate relationship of language. So what that means is, before, like, the internet, and right now we have a convenience of knowledge not being forgotten, but back in the day, somebody had to say it before they forgot what it was. And the most way it would happen was through the oral transmission, in the sense of, for example, the Tibetan Buddhist lineage. Tibetan Buddhism is one of my, I could tell you, passions. Something that like a car engine, like the hood of a car engine. You know, I've lifted the hood of a car engine. I've lifted the hood of Tibetan Buddhism, I can tell you. And what you find is this very deep roots of these lineages of oral transmissions. And what were those transmissions? They were passing inner events. They were inner realm transfers, vocal transfer, you know, what do you call it? File exchange. And for me, I totally sympathize with the Dalai Lama, because now the expansion of what was once Tibet is now becoming no longer Tibet. And if in Tibetan Buddhism it was location based, you know what's going on? It's as if, you know how in so many cultures there's sacred sites, and these sacred sites, like, people don't interfere with, what do you call it, like, nobody is trying to destroy the pyramids. Okay, I can tell you that Tibet should be treated, especially most of its place, as a sacred site, because they actually have a reason to have a sacred site. You know, the Dalai Lama reincarnates. It's the 14th Dalai Lama currently. So it's the only culture that actually has a reason to have a sacred site. Most temples, I mean, if the gods are out of the picture, it's just a building, you know. But for the Buddha, for Tibetan Buddhism, for the Dalai Lama, for the Rinpoche lineages, do you know, it's as if it's like the sacred land is sacred. That means we should treat land that is important to people also as environments of their mind, you know. But here's the issue: same time we're becoming global and galactic, so so on some level I'm like, yeah, we got to take care of the earth, but yeah, there's also the whole galaxy left to explore, you know. Your presence is your teacher. Your personality is always the student of the limits of the realm. As Leonardo da Vinci says, simplicity is the most ultimate sophistication. And in the Diamond Sutras, this very important Buddhic text, It says keep your mind alive and free without abiding in anywhere or anything. So literally, the presence is an energetic teaching. I think at best the student can only abide by the rhythms of their inner realms. You can't own something. Those people who think they're manipulating something, most likely another being is using you like a glove. Be wary. And what I mean by another being, I mean an unconscious archetype. An archetype from your unconscious has been given life, has been given an opportunity to be real for you. That's the thing about the mind. You know what I think the evolution was? We were sapiens, then we became Homo sapiens. Like Homo sapiens. And next thing is, I think, we will no longer be a sapien. I think the term for it is galactician. We will be galacticians. Why not? Let's create that term. A galactician, let us say, is someone who notices the galaxy's collective presence before the individuality. So that means they're looking at everything through the significance of the galaxy being alive. I'll say it like this. Hang on, guys, I'm just writing something. Galacticians consider a consciousness of the galaxy being the primary lens or priority. There we go. Yeah. Because for how long do we want to keep calling ourselves sapient? It doesn't even sound. We will become galacticians because the galaxy, a galactically skilled being, a being that has skill in the galaxy. I mean, Star Wars touched one way of it, but you can say there are ways from the mystical angle where the person opens their eyes as their whole universal sector. You know, this person was once asked, tell us about your history, and the guy's like, I have 3 kinds of history. A history that is individual. My individual history that began from when I began and when I was born and when I will transition. And then there's since I was born here, then there's the history, my universal history, where I have just been the presence of an attention, witnessing the changing of the universe. And then the person was like, then there's a part of me that has no history, literally like energy that can't be created or destroyed. It's just an energetic attention that never dies. Like, what do you want to call it? You know? So I'm just telling you, this world is, everybody should be journaling the mysteries of the realm that dwell in their eyes. And I think at some point, hopefully, I could get the School of Athens 2.0 going, you know, and then we'd have a place where we care about the content of our inner realms, and we're studying it as sincerely as we're studying, you know, the content of our outer realms. Because a species that cared for its minds could look through the eyes of its soul. But a species that didn't even care for its physical existence then was a species that never deserved its mind. You know, there's a point where it's like life, certain opportunities arise in life, and if the person doesn't entertain doesn't notice these opportunities, after a point it's as if like the dismissal of life's opportunity to change you, it's like it becomes think of it this way. Not only just people communicate to the person, your whole world as your whole moment is being a communication of meaning. And when you notice this, there suddenly that attention of you can say the watcher within, or the witness of chaos and order, that witness, it is why the poetry of the unborn exists. And I think right now I'll share a poem from this poetry book I have called Unborn Realizations. Hopefully I can find it. Alright guys, so I found some poems to read for you that I wrote in 2016. There's a poem from this book called Unborn Realizations. It's called Latent Focus. latent focus. That means a focus that hasn't manifested yet. So, let's do this. Just a second, guys. I'm trying to find a song. Alright, this one's nice. There we go. Okay, so latent focus. What makes the eagle trust its wings beyond the branches of fading knowledge? How does the unknown kiss you on the forehead? Our work is a deep-rooted desire that stems from the seed of a star. What has made light dance with you? How can joy be a glow from the beyond? Some poets walk in their poems through the instantaneity of world creation. Has the present moment bowed at your soul beyond ideology? What has made lovers dream in an awakened love? Your experiences is sincere observance. Your experiences in sincere observance transcend latent focus and give you the beyond. Your experiences in sincere observance transcend latent focus and give you the beyond. So that means pretty much the algorithm to this life is that anything you experience, just quickly become sincere and observe and go through it. Go through it to the best of your ability and capability, you know. And your experiences, the experience will give you the beyond. And one more poem, it's called Even Evenings. A turtle once wondered why life had given a shell for shelter. A hidden voice began speaking from within. O young one, you are made to remind yourself. The darkness is a protective aura that saves you from the battle of the seen, S-E-E-N, the battle of the seen. In the ocean that you survive, you are given the back of rock. Trust your design. When predators come, the temple that is connected to you is where prayer demands the activity of the allegiance of God. Subordinate tasks are not here to make the alchemist forget golden truths. The elixir of illusion is made, so escapism destroys the doubter. Can language survive the partial blow of conscious transcendence? Do not deny yourself the greatness of existence. Every cherished moment has a purpose more divine than words. Is this poem odd? Then the evening shall make it even. And there's one last poem I'm going to read and end off, guys. Transcendental moments of love. By the way, I wrote all these in 2016, keep that in mind. Transcendental moments of love. Casual trust makes joy wander about speedy angelic highways. How has limitation found the limitless within? Writing is a joy only the writer can wordlessly dissolve in. Supreme elegance means the pen and the page were one within the writer. How simple is the self-reflective nature of a cosmic mind? Has God whispered in your ear through the silence that carried every voice? Havoc's emblem is a playful suggestion that existence's choice in its clarity was the allowance for the void. And the next poem is Patient Notes, which the Kindle book doesn't allow, and I can't find the ebook right now. So anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I hope this episode was interesting, and always keep in mind, regardless of what someone says, what you say, what language, how the linguistic simulation is afloat. When we look at the sky, our eyes are one corner of a universe of a billion trillion, suggested billion trillion stars. I mean, think about how vast this world is, and it's like, that's why you kind of have to design an advanced civilization where living in it is as fun as whatever we want to build in it, you know? So that's the thing. It has to become an advanced civilization means an attempt towards the ultimate efficiency. That means seek ultimate efficiency. Just meditate on efficiency and you'll be surprised what happens in your life. You'll realize. Much blessings and else.